Hello and welcome back to another Let's Backflip Show happy hour. I'm Ryan Fring, co-creative director here at Backflip, and joining me as always, I pointed the right way, is John Shoemaker. Say, hey, John.
Hello.
How's it going, dude?
It's going well.
You're really rocking the facial hair. I love it.
Good, Lee. I did the thing that everybody did during COVID and just like kind of let it happen. and then I think we were looking back at some pictures a while ago. I was like, that actually works out once it gets there. But
yeah,
I'm also rediscovering some roots of family heritage, and there's a lot of French fur trappers and traders there. So there's some blank spots that are going to be,
for the life, unless you start using some Rogaine or some Keeps or something.
Yeah. Otherwise, if I just wear one of those big hats with a feather and I just do like this and that, like,
yeah. I mean, you just kind of naturally grow that way. So I feel like you got to start just trapping around here and, skinning beavers or, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever we find.
Yes, indeed.
All right. Well, you're not here for us. You're here for this man who we're hanging out with, Steve Donovan. Steve Donovan. How's it going, Steve?
Good. How are you, Ryan? Shoe.
Facial hair.
Yeah. You
on.
got some. When I grow up, I want to have Steve facial hair.
I always had like patches of it for the longest time. It wasn't until I was a stay-at-home dad with one of the kids that I just forced the issue and just like let it go. And finally it
just filled in?
Yeah, it just fills in.
Like, how old are you? I'm waiting for that to happen. Is my question.
I think like 35.
Okay, so I'm a little late. I must be a late bloomer. That's what you're telling me. All right. Well, this is a happy hour. I just reached over and grabbed my drink. Why don't you guys tell me about what you're drinking right now?
Oh boy. Let's see here.
He's got like a jug down there or something.
I've got the water because doctor says it's good for me.
Yeah, we got to hydrate first.
Yeah, so I did that. I'm doing the all-day IPA.
Ooh, nice. I had some of that on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's I'd recommended it to the Tuesday event because it's just like low in alcohol and it's just a good session.
The IPAs
day drinking type of thing. Yeah.
Yep. That's good.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
Just for all day. Who makes that one?
Founders.
Awesome.
Founders. That's Michigan, right? Founders.
It is. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. There's another Founders one,
like Old Dirty Bastard, or what else? There's a bunch of them. Like Founders does the barrel aged ones, right? Like
they do. Yeah, they do a few porters and barrel aged stouts. Yeah. Old Dirty Bastard, or was that the member of Wu-Tang?
Yeah, they're nothing to fuck with.
Trying to think. There's one beer that's really good of theirs that I can't get enough of. But anyways, yeah. So
yeah, I wish my wife was in here. She could help us out.
Maybe I've had their. Maybe if I'm thinking of their porter. I think I've had. I'm looking at their website right now.
Yeah, like KBC, or I'm trying to think of what the acronym stand for.
Yeah, it's like that
various
Kentucky
ones.
bourbon.
Yeah.
Something.
Monica, summoning
stout.
you. Yeah, breakfast stout. Yeah. What are you drinking, John?
Well, I've got some coffee. There's nothing to write home about other than the design on the cup.
Dude, those are my favorite cups.
My wife doodled on a bunch of cups with these like permanent marker things.
Let's also shout out your wife. These are more than just doodles. These are like amazing. Like you can see in the dots, like
those are cool.
Like these are all 100% unique, and they're amazing. Like they're my favorite cups in the entire world.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, that's fun. And then it's not like super. Yes, Dan. Yeah, Dan's asking a hilarious question. If we're in the same building but different rooms, that's
it's easier this way, Dan.
We're always together.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not original. It's the same as last month or week or a couple weeks ago, but the Hawk Jones that's in the kegerator in the Let's Drink Awesome glass.
Ooh. I forgot. Yeah, we have that session ale in our keg about 2 steps away from the door. I just need a little energy boost, so I got the Zoa, and then at some point I'm going to run back and grab some Hawk Jones. This is cool. It's like a 15 calorie, energy drink. But I was hanging with Ryan Koga the other night, and he told me the story of so they're connected with the National Guard, and they were friends with the fighter pilots and the fighter pilot who died. And so that's where Hawk Jones comes from. It's in honor of I think Jones, and I think his call sign was Hawk. And they got to go up there and fly in F-16s and do crazy stuff. And so they have a really good relationship with that group up there, and that's where that wonderful beer came from. So it's one of their staples now. It's a great session. Speaking of sessions, check that one out.
I will. Thank you.
This is I love the convenience of online, but to have a discussion can sometimes be a little bit difficult because you're are they going to keep going?
Yeah.
Is that the end? Okay.
Yeah,
now is that the end? And then is it my turn? Okay, now I go.
Yeah, it's very, very curious.
That's how it is in person with us though too, because when I get going, people are like, "Is he going to keep going?" Or
you have that art of trailing off. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I always try to end it.
Just waiting for people to jump in. Yeah, I'm trying to softball it. I'm trying to serve it up. I'm like, here it is, and it's now time for you to knock it down.
Yeah, you're like the Scottie Pippen to all the Michael Jordans out there in conversation.
We just don't see it coming.
Yeah.
All right. So Steve, I want you to give a little intro. Who are you? Who's your daddy and what does he do? No, who are you and what do you do?
Well, my father's name is Thomas Joseph Donovan, the Jr. I work as a freelance producer, editor. I do projects all over the board. I just finished up and I went to online air, 60-minute documentary about an explosion in Sun Prairie that was caused by a gas leak. And it was something that the city of Sun Prairie wanted to put together, and they had a grant for. So they did all the interviews and they had a bunch of B-roll, and I licensed a bunch of stuff too as a producer and cut it together. So that's, but I've been on my own for about 4 years, doing projects all over the board, different brands, different projects, different nonprofits. So it's been fun.
Before that, you did agency work, right? Or you're at a video production house?
Yeah, I worked right before I was on my own. I worked for a company in Middleton, Springs Window Fashions, as their video, lead video guy. And they, it was just a ton of work because they didn't really have anybody that was just focused on just that. So, and so I did that. I did agency work back in Kansas City. And then before that, it's just always been different affiliates I've worked for. It's all over. It's all over the place. So yeah, I have my experience, but this has been the most fun experience out of my own, working with people that I like, and on my own pace and as good as I want it to be, and all that good stuff. So
there's certainly a different energy to it as well, because there's being off on your own, there's the chance of failure. And I was talking to somebody about it this morning who they've been doing well over the last year as a voiceover artist, but they were a graphic designer. And then they just went full voiceover artist, and people will sometimes ask her, what's your backup plan? And she's like, I don't have a backup plan. This is what I'm going to do. And I was just relating how important it is to have that attitude when you do something difficult like this. I think it's just difficult in general, but especially when you go out off on your own, you're starting your own business, you don't know if, this client's going to go away and you're going to have the next client. But if you have that mentality of, I'm going to make this work, you're going to figure it out. Like when your back's up against the wall, you're not going to look for a door or a window to jump out of. You're going to figure out how to, move forward and continue to grow. So I think everyone should go through this kind of experience a little bit if they're in our field,
What's that saying? Never go full voiceover artist.
What's that?
I think it's a reference to a film.
You never go full voiceover artist.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the film. You never go full.
Is it Tropic Thunder?
Yeah, it's Tropic Thunder.
Oh, is it like a blackface reference or something inappropriate?
No, even more inappropriate.
Disability related.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. It's terrible. Nobody looked this up.
I had we share a little bit of this experience because Ryan and I started the company. We were working together on it, but we still had that same kind of transition from the 9 to 5, the stable 9 to 5, and then moving into doing your own thing. And I think what really dawned on me was that the stability is just an illusion, in the 9 to 5, in the regular job, because at some point I realized that I really didn't have control over whether the people running that company, were keeping staff on or not. And, market conditions and things like that. And, once I kind of realized that, I had just as much security, on my own as I did being there, then it was kind of like, okay, yeah, I mean, it feels a little bit like, alarm. That's not the word. It feels, anxiety inducing when you first get started, but you realize things you have control of your own destiny. You can always work harder and longer, and you can always make more phone calls and go try to meet more people. But I couldn't do that when I was sitting at my other job in a role where that wasn't my responsibility. And I couldn't be go out on sales calls and stuff. It was just oh, things are slowing down. That's unfortunate. Sure hope that doesn't continue, So it's anyway, it was just a little bit of a shift of perspective. And I don't know if that resonates with you, or if, that's kind of maybe, what was
how's that been for you, Steve?
That kind of it's the moment that you make a B plan, you're just going to do it because it's the easier route, at least for lazy bums like me. So it's always good to just make it happen no matter what. If you can keep that in your head, no matter what, I'm going to do this no matter what. That's the most important thing. And they say having a B plan makes you think that you have an alternative. And it's I just to echo what you guys are saying is that if you just keep at it and you keep working on it and you keep doing it and there's no other alternatives, then you're going to make it happen. And I totally agree with you, Shu, when you were talking about how it's just as safe as a full-time job, because I've worked for enough companies, corporations, or agencies that they just change the whole leadership team and you don't know whose head is on the chopping block at any time. So that's just as frequent as a company going under or you drying up or anything like that. So you might as well enjoy yourself and work for yourself and keep chasing the projects and keep chasing the work and be the master of your own destiny rather than leaving it up to an SLT team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially in what we do too. It seems like there's a lot more producers or owner operators and things like that. And we all just kind of flex to, we come together for big projects and go kind of off on our own for smaller projects. And, we've kind of found like a good size for us in our company. We've got John and I as creative directors, and then Max is our lead editor. We've got a intern editor right now. We had an assistant editor. He's growing up and traveling and things like that. And then we have a designer, and then of course Scott, our business guy. But beyond that, we typically can handle all the editing. But when you're doing more producing, more shooting, we just bring in really talented people who are in the area, which is fantastic. In the market to be able to do something like that, and you can flex as needed. And then I think having a couple employees, we got to think about basically that same energy. Like, how do we encourage and inspire people to still think and feel the same way? Like, I'm done with my work. Well, what should I do? Well, what can I do to drive the company forward? Provide incentives too, that if somebody brings somebody in, turns into some work, or they develop a new way for us to do something better, there's always incentives to grow in whatever position they have, because then they can have a little bit of that entrepreneurial energy too. Because I think everybody should have that.
I agree. How do you guys get to a point where you say, because everybody has a different litmus test, you know that you need to add on to the team, or there's gaps to fill, or things along those lines?
Yeah, there was the most important time that we added on to the team was when we went from 3 of us, which is Ryan and I, and well, I guess not an intern. She started as an intern, but quickly, became like a associate producer role. But we were, that particular summer, this is many years ago, we were trading, taking turns at 70-hour weeks or something. I remember texting back and forth and being like, hey, do you have any more time this week? Because like I have X, Y, and Z to do. And we had another project coming up. And I think I took a couple evenings of time, like, even though there was no time, I took more time to put together in a piece of software, like a capacity kind of chart. It's the most organized that I ever got. And it's the most organized I've been, since, was that one time putting it all in and being like, because I couldn't see it. And I was like, I need to understand how many hours of estimated editing and production there are in the things we have, and the due dates. And if there are that many hours, in the week. And I put that all together, and I was like, it was the most clear I've ever been about justifying, we need to hire an editor.
Yeah.
And we started freelance. It's actually the first time that we hired Max, our current editor.
Yeah.
We hired him and, had him going for a couple weeks on a project. And then in the middle of that, we were doing interviews, interviewing a couple different people at the same time. So that's how that has gone. And that one time was a really clear, we need to move from here to here. But then the big question mark, there's not a solid answer, in my opinion. If you're asking this question, once you've done that, how do you know that it will continue at that capacity?
Mm-hmm.
I think you don't know. And I've always just gone by I think Google has talked about it. There's various business articles that have talked about it. When you find the people that are the right people, they will bring in the extra work, even if they're not directly in sales or marketing or whatever. Just the amount of energy and output and everything that they have, maybe it'll free you up to do the things that you couldn't quite do. So it's always that's the that's the real story of like business and entrepreneurship, is like, it's not a one-time thing. It's like a every step of the way thing is always like this tackling another risk. Like, okay, well, do I take this risk? And I have something in front of me right now. I think we should bring on this staff, new employee staff or whatever. Hopefully that amount of work continues. Hopefully I don't have to make difficult decisions in the future and be like, ooh, I couldn't keep that going. And
Well, and we're all a bunch of people who can do a lot of different tasks. And I think that helps as well, because sometimes there'll be more posts, sometimes there'll be more pre-production, sometimes there's more production. And, we figure out who has capacity to do what. Like, we have an editor, and John and I are primarily, director, producers, and writers, but Max can also write, and he's very good at it and can do it very fast. Luke can also just go shoot. Luke and another team member could go be a little bit bigger team and shoot. Luke can edit. John can edit. I can edit. There's kind of like a hierarchy of like who's next after somebody else's full. So if something gets a little crazy, we buckle down and we divvy up the work and work together. And then ideally you have a little bit more breathing room, and then we can work more in those areas that we excel at. So that's kind of what I was getting at before. We're like at that point where we can flex pretty well with the crew that we have. And like even doing much bigger jobs, it's easier just to bring somebody in for a specific job than it would be to staff up. And then after 2 months, be like, okay, what am I going to do with this staff that was primarily for this one project?
Yeah.
Interesting. Are you, so how is it with you where like, there's no other team members, right? Like, you're the guy?
Yeah, I just hire out freelancers.
Do you ever think about that, or
the moment I do, I'm working too much.
Yeah,
I'm a bit older than you guys, so it's like I'm starting to not count the days, but I know that like I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of retirement. So that's only going to complicate things, and it's, I'm more interested in passive income than amping up projects and stuff like that. Right now, I'm doing projects I like, people that I like to work with, things that interest me. You guys know, if you like it, if you love what you're doing, it's going to reflect in your work, and you're going to see it and be like, wow, it did a good job on that. What was your secret? And it's like, I enjoyed working on it. That was my secret.
So I want to get to the stronger Sun Prairie too here in a second. We can watch the visuals, but what you said right there, passive, you want to work more on passive income. Are there things you're working on for passive income?
Just like investment, just investing.
Oh, okay.
And just trying to do that type of thing. It's not like I'm buying property or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know if it was, because I think about this too, and you absolutely have the capabilities to teach, right? Because you also teach. Thinking about like online courses, right? Like spending a week or 2 weeks producing some content, and then it's out there, and then hey, you can sell that for a few months or a few years as passive income. That's kind of where my mind goes to.
And one of my clients, another group that I love working with, I don't know if you know, is Andrew and Gracie Foxwell, who have Foxwell Digital here in town, here in Madison. And they just started this, they do a lot of digital media buying. And what they're doing is sort of what you're talking about, like this online community and online learning, sort of a masterclass for digital media buyers. And working with them, I'm just like learning how lonely it can be. They're making the great idea of bringing everybody together, because there's such unicorns in terms of they're here in Madison, and then there's somebody over in London, and there's somebody up in Ontario, and brings them together, and they have this like sort of what you're talking about, this like membership fee, and they're part of a community, and they get to learn more about what should I be like right now? I'm cutting something together for Andrew. It's A/B testing, like really digging into A/B testing, and it's just and I think that's extraordinary. That's really cool. That's a great source of passive income. But I am teaching, but that's because again, I let my passion follow my passion. I follow my passion, and that was an opportunity I was given, and I knew that was something I'd love to do. And the head of the video communications department at Madison College coincidentally approached me and was like, would you be interested in teaching 2 classes a semester? And I was like, yes, I'd love to. And It's been great, 2 days a week, just enough to enjoy myself and keep doing work. And the students are awesome. They're great.
Yeah, we love working with Madison College and their students too. We do have a question here. So Dan, I'll get to your other question too in a second, but it was relevant to investment. Can you talk about crypto and how much XRP do you have?
I have no crypto. It's uninsured. I can't.
Yeah.
I like federally insured stuff.
It's passive, it's just my understanding, you just get it and then you just make money. That's it. So,
you a crypto bro, Shoe?
Yeah, you don't have to do anything.
No, I've been around the block once or twice, a couple times.
I know that.
And now XRP, all that XRP is finally coming in. I overbought so much XRP and then I just left it there out of disgust, and now it's up, but it's still probably lower than what I paid for it. Let's see, one more question and then we'll jump to the Stronger Sun Prairie. Dan the coach. Is it LeCloach? I forget. LeCloach, yeah. Am I a fraud because I don't put my camera on rails with a map box? I like that question. What do you think, Steve?
No. You can just gear it all up. You could have your Black Magic Mini and just pile everything on there and put it on something, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if it doesn't look cool, like, are you even a shooter, bro?
Exactly.
You gotta
heard to hear from Professor Donovan.
And that's the thing. Like iPhone Pros are shooting amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Right now, but if you take that on a shoot as a B camera, it's like your client's going to be like, "What?"
Right. It's the challenge of like it's. There's an article I saw recently that was talking about it, and it's just like it's the client, like they need to see like, "Ooh, you got the fancy stuff," like you could have an iPhone down in there if it's like behind the mat box and under,
that's what I'm saying. Just
under
like
a monitor, and it's got the, because
just 3D print like a red camera.
Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious.
And just put an iPhone in there.
I feel like this is how you explode on YouTube or TikTok. You are the guy who 3D prints a red, and then you put a iPhone in there, and then you shoot some projects and be like, guys, isn't this amazing? And they'll be like, yes. And you'll be like, F you, it's on my phone.
What?
Yeah, I love it. So we came up with that idea here, and you're going to become a TikTok millionaire.
Yeah. And I'll just, for passive income, like I'll just take royalties on that idea.
Yeah, that'll be some passive income.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. So Stronger Sun Prairie. I put the link. We have that link. Luke, do you mind throwing that up? And I can put this up too. I'd love to watch the trailer and then maybe have you talk a little bit more about it. Do you want to set it up at all, or do you want to just watch it?
Let's just watch it.
Okay. This can be glitchy, so bear with me.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. Throw that up.
Let's see if this.
Let's see. Let me know if the sound doesn't work.
Tell me exactly what happened.
It's we doing a construction work and we hit the gas main. Is hear it and smell it?
Both.
Bad, it's bad.
We went out of the building and then looked down the street, could realize it wasn't our building that was the problem. It was looking down the street to the east. We could see a fire blazing down there.
It looked like a third world country had been bombed. I mean, it was just, half of the bar house had been blown across the street. You know, bricks were scattered everywhere.
I wanted to be with my people. I knew that the scene was still not safe.
Powerful explosion overnight shook the town of Sun Prairie, Wisconsin.
Now to breaking news overnight. A deadly gas explosion rocking a Wisconsin town.
I do have to say initially it was a lot of chaos, and so I was adapting to change because it was every 10-15 minutes something new was happening.
We are in the beginning stages of a very, very active and very involved investigation.
I mean, this is pretty much as big as it gets. You want everybody to feel like they have someone watching out for them.
Our whole deal was evacuation. We knew at that time of the day at the downtown that there were hundreds of people in the area.
We are simply going to do this right and get through this. We're not going to rush and risk anybody else.
We just really wanted to make sure that our town, my town that I grew up in, was served in the best way possible.
You can't hear me. Boom, coming today.
Yeah, it was. That project was just because it's the 5-year anniversary, and me working on this. Of course, on anything this massive, you have hours and hours and hours of footage, and it's between body cams, car cams, footage that people shot on the street. Everybody that experienced it, it was just like a ton of stuff, and the choices that you make, you have to form an opinion ahead of time of who is this for, what is it saying, and what should it be about. They lost a firefighter. Only one person passed away from this whole thing, and it basically shook a town. It was seismic, and only one person passed away, and they think about that person and that firefighter, and they but for the most part, it was an amazing victory for outside of that one death, like getting people out in half an hour from a whole downtown. It was amazing, and I think the film is about the victories of people coming together over horrific events, even in a small town like that.
Mm-hmm. And what I remember hearing kind of what was going on through the grapevine. We don't really watch the news, so Facebook and other things. So they determined there was a gas leak, and they had cordoned off the area. Were they doing an evacuation then? And then that's when the explosion happened?
Yeah, we heard the 911 call at the very beginning of the trailer. It was a We Energies like stringer. He didn't even work for We Energies. He just was somebody that they contracted somebody who contracted somebody, and they were looking to run lines, and they tapped right into a gas main that was unlabeled. So as soon as he taps into it, breaks a hole open, you can smell it immediately. It's pouring right into his face. And so you can hear him on the 911 call saying, like, we have a gas leak, we got to figure it out. And so that's when the fire and police, Sun Prairie Fire and Police, run into the downtown and have to literally go into pizza places like Salvatore's and tell everybody to get out. Mm-hmm. This is what's going on. And it was a half-mile radius, so it's a humongous area. Mm-hmm. And they have to get everybody out. And there's about 20 minutes, just over 20 minutes after it gets called in, that's when the explosion, something ignited it. they don't know what ignited it and blew up the bar house, which was sort of a bar restaurant that one of the firefighter that actually perished, coincidentally, had owned with his wife. So, yeah. So he left behind Abby, his wife, Abby Barr, and their 2 daughters. So it's easy to just like keep mulling over the loss, but I think the story is important in terms of the amazing things that went on outside of that, the people that came around to it and came around to help and just wanted to just find a way to help. So good stuff.
Yeah, you had mentioned too having an opinion, and when you're making a documentary, you know, there's the story that's presented to you, and then I'm sure you did a lot of research, and there's a story that starts to come out. What did you discover? You know, what was the opinion that you have that this film takes?
Well, exactly what I was saying, and I was like working really hard to establish that the idea that Fred Rogers once said, that when he'd watch a tragedy on television, his mom would say, "Don't look at the tragedy, look at all the people that are helping around there." And I like, when I was putting this together, I like to focus on that. I didn't want to shy away from somebody passing away. I didn't want to shy away from the fact that people were displaced. People lost a lot in explosions and fires. But by the same token, there's something beautiful there that unfortunately a horrible thing like this brought about. I think it's my philosophy in life too, like not to dig in too much about it, but I like to look at the good things rather than focus on, because like shitty stuff's always going to happen. And you can let it take over and do what you want it to do, or you can just try to help and focus on the good stuff and what other people are doing. That's great.
Yeah, there was a book that I was reading recently that was getting at that, you know, that basic concept of like, well, how do I have this like positive view? How do I see the glory in things when there's all of this bad, you know, that's in the world? And basically it was just what you were getting at, was like, well, you know, your perspective has to be on seeing like that's going to continue. That's what's in this world. And what you need to do is see the people that are working to like help others to get out of those things, to see the positive way out of whatever situations. Because otherwise, yeah, you could have and many people do find themselves in a very dark, negative worldview, because there's things that happen. It's just part of life. But yeah, it's good to see the positive and like, well, you know, here's how we got out of it. And again, it can, you know, border on cliche sometimes, but if it's like, you know, seeing the like, well, at least this didn't happen, or, you know, at least we were able to get this good out of it, or stop it at this point or whatever. Just trying to count those positives.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, like COVID, right? So bad things happened, and maybe even close to you. But when we think about it, when we look at it, we try to think about, okay, you know, what are some of the positive takeaways that we experienced and happened? You know, like the way we interact developed in largely a good way. You know, intentionality online technology, people leaning into communicating and marketing and creating more. You know, that was one of those things that it's, you know, people were like, well, how was COVID for you? And I was like, no one got sick around me, and business was good, you know, and things grew and technologies grew, and so it's like a hard thing. It's like, in tragedy, trying to be positive and look positive, and I think that's probably what we like to, how we can deal with things like that.
Yeah, and I think the one of the most important characters in that oral history has to be the mayor of Sun Prairie throughout the whole thing. He has this amazing, beautiful perspective of the whole thing that I tried to highlight as much as I could. So
that's cool. I'm gonna ask a question. Yeah, can you repost that link? I lost it.
Yeah, you bet.
I did I broke the cardinal law of clicking on like update. Like our restream here has like trying the new experience. I was like, oh, what's that like? This couldn't go wrong, and it just blew everything up.
All the power in my apartment went down. There it is.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna throw this in chat. So can people like purchase it here?
It's totally free.
Totally free. Cool.
Yeah, it's you can watch away all you like.
Boom. Thanks. I'm gonna
about
do that.
40. It's about 52 minutes long. So
time for commercial break. All right, let's see. We got another question. Can Steve talk about the use of the slow dip to black between shots in the trailer? I love it, but what was his thought process on that choice? Also, I love the feel. Like it's got like that music. It's got like a serial kind of feel to it. Like it kind of makes me chill, but I'm like a little anxious, a little hopeful. Like it's kind of a good mix.
To what I tried to do, just to add on to that, and I'll answer Dan's question, is that I intentionally tried to find like a song that had a clock feel to it, because they were racing time. The whole thing was about racing against the clock. And getting first when they tried to evacuate everybody, and when they're trying to figure out, is there going to be another explosion? And that was so I wanted to give you that anxious feeling. So, but in terms of the slow dips to black between shots in the trailer, the thing I struggle with in the trailer as well as the documentary was, do I want to just go in a timeline, like go in chronological order, or do I want to be a little bit more poetic about it in terms of, here's one person's story, the whole thing, and another person's. So I tried to I tried to be a little bit more poetic, but not too flowery, so that it was just like dumb. So in terms of the slow dips to black, I wanted to separate what people were saying and give it something that visualized what they're saying, but it wasn't in chronological order either. So I wanted to give it some kind of transition, but not dissolving, because dissolve, I feel like the scenes are related in some way. If I dip to black, you can say these are separate siloed scenes that don't have anything to do with time or space. It's just like they're living by themselves. That's what dip to black in my mind as an editor means.
Yeah, the trailer was really intriguing to me too. Like, I heard all about it. Our editor at the time, Jeff Bell, was living in Sun Prairie, and he was trying to remember if he said that. I'm trying to remember if he heard it or what. He was far enough away that his building, his apartment wasn't affected, but I think he could either see the smoke or maybe heard it or something. But I didn't know much about the situation, and that shot of from down on the street of the explosion happening, when it just seems like people are standing around, is very startling and striking.
Yeah, when you see them running the beds out of assisted care facilities, It's
Yeah, that's freaky.
Yeah, just
So that time element that you mentioned, like that definitely, that seems like a good, the right choice for cutting the documentary, of like the emphasis on, and the unknowing too, because like you don't know, like somebody calls in and is like, this thing happened, people got to get out of here, but you don't know if something will happen or how much time you have. It's not like, hey, there's a train headed here and we've got this much time before impact or whatever. It's just like, I have no idea. It could
Yeah.
be, any, like, could be nothing, could be anytime, whatever.
Yeah, it was just, you can tell, just pure chaos. And the final shot that you saw, that where it pans over, that was from like a couple miles away, that plume of smoke was still going. It was just insane, the whole thing. It's just crazy. And when I was cutting it together, and I talk about it every now and then in my advanced video class. And one of the students said that she lived in Sun Prairie at the time, and she said that she had a bunch of footage. And that's the thing; it affected thousands and thousands and thousands of people. There are 35,000 people in Sun Prairie alone. So you can imagine like how many lives it touched.
In going through that footage and finding stuff, like, how was that? Like, I know it's interesting. We work on like human trafficking stuff, and to some point, like, there's a separation where you can kind of look at it more objectively, right? And then I think the first time like Max was editing one of those projects, he's like, I gotta stop, I'm just like wrecked right now. And I was kind of struck, because I'm like, man, I've been doing this work for a couple of years now, and so I have that mental separation to be able to be like, okay, let me hear these stories, okay, let me find and figure out what the best stories and put it together and do this, and okay, there it is. And then somebody who doesn't have that experience goes and listens to it or watches it or edits it and is like, oh my gosh, I can't even handle this. What was your experience going through all this footage, over what I assume was a long period of time?
Funny you should say that, because there was one point, I forget what the minute mark was, but it was in the fire chief's interview. I cut it together. You try to use your editing synergy and cut it together, and you're feeling it and it's coming together and stuff like that. And then when you get to an end of a section, you want to like go back, let it play, correct what needs to be corrected, and mix what needs to be mixed. And watching this one segment back of the fire chief, and I'm just like crying and crying and crying. And I think I hit that wall, that emotional wall with it, where I just had to like let it alone for a day or two and just be able to
like go hug your kids or something.
Yeah, exactly. Just and just all of that. Just remember that how great everything is, and your life is wonderful, and thank God for cops and fire crews, like, so.
And people who rush towards the danger. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a interesting thing that maybe people don't know about editing and video production in general, that you can be in that analysis mode where you're like, okay, yeah, this soundbite, builds upon that topic that we're on. And okay, yeah, the person is reacting in this way. That's adding some emotional weight, and that's good. Oh, and the music is swelling here. And then, like you said, you go back and rewatch it, and it's actually possible to experience it from analysis or from like just being a viewer. And then when you like watch it as a viewer, you can be like, oh wow, yeah, this is.
Yeah. And like you guys, when I came across this, and I was fortunate to get this as a project, I had been acquainted with it, but it wasn't a story I was following. I was on top of and reading every scrap I could find. So to learn some of those things along the line is just like was just so surprising to me, just so crazy. So I hope
Yeah,
that showcases all that stuff. So
when you were approached, was there a certain, there's probably some parameters of we want to showcase the community and this story and have this be something that it like is healing. I'm sure there was scope and goals and things like that, objectives.
the only thing that they asked for was that can you get to as close to 60 minutes as possible.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's because that they I know there's a few other people that were up for it because it's a city. You have to have at least 3 bids.
Sure.
But maybe something about my work was they thought this is the guy for this to tell this story, and we want you to roll it out. I'm not sure. I can't speak for them, but I think it had something to do with trust and being able to say, like, could you do this for us? Help us out with this.
There's also
I was just following up with that real quick, like the idea of a documentary and like covering the story. Did you have different perspective at the beginning than the end, or was it kind of consistent throughout? Like, did things change?
Yeah, at first I was like, this is just going to be a telltale timeline of what happened and everybody giving their account. But there's a lot more. It was a lot more layered than that. There was one soundbite in there that made it into the documentary, and she said she was at a fundraiser with the fire chief, and they were so appreciative of everybody always doing stuff and everything, but they just had this perspective of we just need to move on. We can't keep going to these fundraisers and talking about what happened. And so there's a lot of layers to it in terms of people realizing the massive casualties and at the same time wanting to be like, what do we need to do? And I know we're not going to be the same, but I'd like to move on in some way. It's the grief of it all.
Yeah. The other thing, so like I imagine I've thought about this a lot, that when any promo video that you do for a business or organization, like all of it's documentary, like a lot of it fits into that category.
Yeah.
But what was the do you feel the weight and pressure of like when you've got something that's like bigger profile and there's a lot more kind of, it's like, oh, the story of a business, that's, cool. And there's some stories about somebody, being really happy with the work they do or changing it. But like, you've got this kind of thing. Like, what was that like to work on a project?
I was incredibly worried. I just, like what everybody, like what different people would think about different things about it. And, I most of all, Abby Barr, the widow of the firefighter who was lost. She didn't speak to the camera for this, but she has spoken about it. And I tried to see things through her eyes. I tried to see things through the fire chief's eyes. And I worried a lot about that, about the weight of it, and what it made me want to make a more beautiful piece. It wanted me to make it more precise. It made me a better producer editor for it. So I was very worried.
Yeah. How long was the project? How long did it take you to go from we want you to do this to now?
I think it was end of November. End of November is when they gave me the green light. And then I had to drive to Sun Prairie and get a removable hard drive with all the footage and everything. So, and that's when I just started logging everything and getting transcripts together and reading up on it and things like that. So,
this is a great Luke question. What was the review process like in client feedback? Yeah.
It was because it's so massive. At first, I was going to put a rough cut together and have them just take a look at the rough cut. But I thought this was more of an emotional piece, so I would finish off. I finished off to begin with 5 or 6 minutes of it, all cleaned up and everything, and was like, "This is the direction I'm going in. How do you feel about this?" And they were very supportive. The city was very supportive. The Sun Prairie Media Center was very supportive, and they loved it, and they said keep moving forward. And I got to a point where I think I got like 40 minutes into it because it was just so energizing, and then I'd send them that 40 minutes and have them take a look at it, but the whole kit and caboodle didn't look at it till it's done. So I was inspired to get it done way ahead of time. I think I got it done in May, the very first cut.
Oh, wow.
And so people like the mayor would look at it, members of the media center board would look at it, fire chief would look at it, the legal team would look at it, things along those lines. So it's a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah, well, and that sounds like a good move that you made. If it was a smaller team earlier on, it sounds like this is what you were saying, because I always have to I feel like half of it is like client education when we're talking about review process. We're like, well, let's review with as few people as possible. And then when you start sharing it to a wider group, share it and tell them, here it is, it's done. Don't be like, so what do we think? What are all the individual opinions that all 500 of you have?
It's an art form. I mean, I don't need to tell you guys. It's an art form in itself, the client review process, and that's why Lukey Boy is asking about it, because everybody does it differently for different clients, and it's such an art form, the client review process. I know people do rough cuts, but unless you have somebody that's really knows production, you don't hand over a rough cut.
Nope. Yeah, we look at it too. We have like an assembly that's like, is this the content? And then, okay, rough it up, get the B-roll in there. Okay, now let's go to fine so that it looks like something that they'll recognize. And then even with the caveats, it's still like, the color looks flat. And you're like, well, I know, I said that in the message. It's not, it's not colored yet.
Exactly. And that's the tough thing, is educating the client. And they shouldn't have to be educated, honestly. Like, you should be able to, but it's such a difficult thing. You shouldn't have to educate the client. I totally get where they're coming from. But if you totally put something together that's gone close to fine to finish, and it's and they're like, no, this is totally wrong. And it's like, I had to pull this puzzle apart and put it back together again.
Yeah, we did a documentary feature film, and that was an interesting learning process too. In a very specific client. So clients are going to be different. Basically just one person that we had to get through creative, because the producer was like, yep, trust you. So then the executive producer was the one who we worked with a lot. and a lot of circling, and like it ended up being a little brutal. And I'm curious, if you had any things towards the end of your film where, watching through and like making sure overall color or overall audio levels or, what happened? Okay. My computer started falling asleep because I haven't moved my mouse in a second. All those things, like where it gets brutal, where you're like, oh, I gotta watch it again.
Yeah.
Was there anything like that towards the end of the process?
Yeah, they the funniest thing happened. They had just one more change, and it came from legal, and it just threw off all my music, and just like it was just something weird. It was like, and I was just like, what's going on? I'm like watching it through. I was like, and suddenly I realized I just messed up somehow. All my levels. So it's like okay, well, here we go. So,
brutal. Buckle up.
That was fine though. Yeah,
you still got it done early.
I'm laughing at Dan's.
I'm laughing at Dan too.
What did he say?
Sent a rough cut to a client with a watermark piece, and they said, "We love it, but there's a woman who keeps saying audio jungle in the background. Can we remove her?"
I've been there.
That happens
too,
like
Dan.
1 in 3 clients. Like 1 in 3 new clients will say that.
Yeah. As though that was what your creative vision was.
Yeah.
Like, well, I actually put in that audio of her saying audio jungle. I felt like it really lifted the piece. Like, of course we can remove that. But
I have in my notes that you wanted audio jungle on the music bed.
And it doesn't matter that you put that up there. Like, this is an example audio track. It's got the watermark on it. You'll hear this, people read it and then forget about it. And that's why we did the water flip spoof.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago. It was really fun.
That was hilarious. That was great.
Jeff Bell plays the watermark artist who manually records each and every watermark.
You got to put that in the chat also. That link. That was a good one.
Yeah, Luke, can you find that one? That's fun. Yeah. So now that it's out, like, is there marketing, any smaller pieces you're doing for it, or is it kind of like it's out, you can relax and share?
I can relax and just they're sort of handling all that stuff. I would like to clean up some stuff and then send it to a couple film festivals, possibly. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. When are you going to kill that baby? As it is, like, it'll never be done unless it's done, right?
Yeah, it's 99% done. I mean, there's a couple little things I'd like to see, but
that's awesome. Don't tell anyone ever what those little things are. No one will ever know except for you, and it'll make you happy.
Yeah. Exactly. They'll just bug me. So, but moving on, I just want to ask you guys one thing. Have you seen the new Mission Impossible?
I might go today or tomorrow, actually. And I got to catch Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to probably catch it in IMAX.
Yeah. That's the way to do it. So good.
Well, what about it?
It's amazing. I just wanted to check with you guys. It seemed like right in your wheelhouse of films. So it's like,
dude, I mean, like, I will give Tom Cruise, the Scientologist, all my money because he's so entertaining.
He is.
Every movie. Looking back through the Mission Impossibles, like, from now to the first, like, they're so dumb. They start off so dumb and they kind of get a little bit less dumb. So I'm kind of excited for that. It's a little more real. But just the action is fun. And
I finally watched the first one with my 13-year-old like a few weeks back, and he was entranced. Like, it's so good, like, it's so classic. And it was funny too, because I'm sure we're all having this now where, like, I showed that to him and he's like, Oh, so that's where this, like every time somebody drops from the ceiling and is suspended over something in a movie,
They're like flat, yeah.
like that's where this comes from.
That's the reference.
So it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, what did we just see? We just saw The Sound of Freedom last week, which is like the human trafficking one.
Yeah.
Which was like #1 on July 4th. And it's kind of exceptionalizing it, but I think it's a good film that everyone should see so people have a perspective on the human trafficking that's like actually happening. Like it's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love movies. I go to movies all the time. Yeah, what are some recommendations you have, Steve? Do you watch a lot of movies or TV shows?
Yes and yes. I just finished watching, my girlfriend and I, Sarah, and I watched Based on a True Story on Peacock.
A friend of mine just told me about that yesterday.
Oh my god.
It sounds hilarious.
It's hilarious and crazy and just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, can you pitch it real quick? I think John would probably kick out of it.
So it stars Callie Cuoco, and the actor who I can't remember his name from New Girl, as this couple, and he's like this has-been tennis star. He was like a humongous tennis star, and blew out his knee, and still is a pro. And they've been married for a long time. He and Callie Cuoco, and they're sort of came into this rut of their relationship. And she's a huge murder podcast fan. And when this West Side Ripper, or whatever they call it, West Side Stabber, or West Coast, goes on a killing spree, she suspects that this one person is the killer. So they decide to start a podcast with this guy to.
Is it like their plumber too, or something?
Yeah, to see if he's the killer and how he does stuff, and it just becomes this like cat and mouse game. And at the same time, it's a hilarious sort of rom-com wrapped into it with this couple. So it's just phenomenal. It's just so good.
Yeah, I've seen it advertised, and I'm intrigued by it. It sort of reminds me, well, I mean, it's different, obviously, but have you seen Only Murders in the Building?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So good.
Very
season
unexpected cast, but really, really works. Like
Selena Gomez is great in that. I mean, they all are.
Mm-hmm.
This upcoming season has Paul Rudd and Meryl Streep.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's going to be amazing. All right, what's your movie recommendation? Mission Impossible? I want to get your recommendation, and then we're going to do a little something special.
I really liked Mission Impossible a lot, but I just watched on Paramount, and I know the horror genre is not popular with everybody, but I watched X and Pearl, which are sort of companion movies. And those were it's on Paramount Plus, both films. And they were just super gory, but I mean, just so well done. That was really good. I'm looking forward to seeing Joyride, and also looking forward to seeing No Hard Feelings.
I don't know either of those either. Asteroid City. Yeah, that'll be super fun.
Yeah.
What's Joyride and the other one you said?
No Hard Feelings is with Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
And she is hired by a couple to basically date their son, who's sort of a nerdy wallflower type of kid before he goes off to college. They want to sort of educate him, and it just looks like a lot of fun and good summertime, sort of super bad style of comedy, of like raunchy fun humor. So the parents are played by Matthew Broderick and Courtney Cox.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I think I saw that in because it's out now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That looks super fun. All right, we got those recommendations. And guys, do you know what time it is? You ready for this?
This truth is a lie.
It's time for 2 truths and a lie. Steve's going to tell us 3 things about himself, 3 short things, and we're going to pick the lie. And if you play along at home, you have a chance to win swag.
Oh
I think
boy.
anybody's won in a while.
What's that?
You could win. I'm gonna vamp while you think about things. You could win one of these cool Let's Make Awesome.
Is that cork?
Cork, yeah.
100% genuine.
Nice.
Coke. I forget what we give away. Hannah handles the giveaways. So, and there's other things that you can get.
Yeah, just whatever trash we can find on our desks.
It's so good. It's like we got swag that we're like, I would actually use this. So I have I have 4 of these on my desk and some behind them, and then I have several at home. Like I use the crap out of them. Good things there. So we can keep vamping too if you want to think a little bit longer, Steve, because we didn't prep you at all.
Yeah, keep vamping a little bit.
Yeah,
Here.
these sticky notes too. We'll throw that in.
you could win sticky notes.
Yep.
And I'm gonna pull up my notes too. This is a podcast, so if you stumble upon this and you're not already subscribed, please do like, subscribe, follow, hit the bell, do the thing, because it's on YouTube as well.
Nobody gets murdered in this podcast.
Only murders on this podcast. Yeah. letsbackflip.com/the Let's Backflip show, or wherever your podcasts are sold. That's where you can find us. I think we have Chelsea Bowers from Madison College coming on either next week or pretty soon. She's our next guest. So that'll be super awesome. Yeah, she is such a amazing creative person over there. We've been working with them for a year or two.
Yeah, Shu introduced
really great projects. What's that?
Shu introduced me to her. She seemed awesome. She seems great.
Yeah. She's one of those, like yourself, who I'm like, we just got to hang out with these people, even if it's online.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to figure one out here. Okay. I was one. I was an extra in the film Cold Fusion. 2, in 2005, I published a book. And 3, I served a night in jail.
Ooh. I'd like all these to be true. If you're a pro, you probably changed one of the details here. So number 1, you were an extra in the film Cold Fusion. Number 2, you published a book in 2005. And number 3, you served a night in jail.
Yeah.
Those are some good ones. So you guys can guess at home.
No Googling if you want to play by the rules.
That's right. No Google. Let's see. What was the book title?
The Untitled Journals.
If this is a lie and you pulled that out of your butt, that's amazing. I feel like you'd be good at improv. Have you done improv before?
I'd like to try it sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you would. Yeah, be a shoo-in.
I thought you had. I thought for sure that you had done it because I thought the same thing.
Yeah. What do you think of John, or Dan, or anyone at home, or Luke? You can say. Luke says he thinks number 1 is a lie. The extra in the film Cold Fusion.
I don't even know what that film is.
Yeah, I don't know what that film is
Keanu
either.
Reeves, Morgan Freeman.
Oh.
Still don't. I know those people.
Yeah.
They shot it on
Keanu Reeves, Morgan Freeman, Steve Donovan. Third build.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds like a wacky comedy.
I like it.
Okay.
Emily Pearson. I don't think Steve would survive jail. That's a good guess.
Are they? Let's see. Are the 3 of these
I feel like
facts
Steve
related?
makes friends with the criminals.
Yeah. I would be the I'd be the first guy to go down.
The three of these facts are related. After the movie, during the movie, he got himself sent to jail, and then
exactly.
the book is
They're
about
like, you're not an extra.
the book is about his
Straight to
experience.
jail, and I'm like, I'm going to write a tell-all about jail.
Yeah, these are my diaries about jail.
Yeah, and one night.
I like it. That's what you got to do. Sell it on Amazon for $1.
The longest night of my life.
All right, Emily. So Emily says number 3. Luke says number 1. What do you got, John?
Bless you.
God bless you.
What you got? What you think?
Okay, I usually I like to try to come up with it just right off on the first responses, but I think it's the book, because of your response on the title, which, follow-up question I had in my mind too. I just like to try to figure it out without follow-up questions, but I think you answered very smoothly and very, very well. I mean, far better than I could have, on the spot, but I think it's the book. 2005. What were you doing in 2005? I don't know. I don't think you were writing a book.
I'm a lot older than you guys. I wouldn't be in school.
You say a lot older. You just have a big beard that I can't grow. That's all. If I had your beard, we would look the same.
I have friends who have those longer beards, and I always wonder, there's no way I could do that, the longer beard. Like that.
Well, I think if you just don't shave it, right?
I don't know.
Because of you don't think you could grow it, or you don't think you would want to deal with the upkeep.
Exactly. I don't want to deal with the upkeep.
Yeah, because it's you got a whole second head of hair basically to deal with.
It's
right? There's this, and then you also need to do this.
All right. Any more guesses on chat? I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, I'm doing the book.
Film Cold Fusion. I'm gonna say jail. Served a night in jail. Just out of you saying, I'll come up with another one, and then that was a third. It's kind of a cop-out functional thing. And I will unabashedly ask questions to try to ferret out the lie.
I know you will.
It's true.
You're like a cat, always curious.
Unabashed. And kind of a little bit of an asshole.
He seems like a guy who's been in jail for a night. He's seen some things.
I don't like talking about it.
We've given the people at home a chance. Now you may reveal what the lie was.
I was not in Cold Fusion.
We didn't even question that.
That's actually Jill Genter's story. She was
nice, good lie.
She was an extra on Cold Fusion, and I always joke with her about that. About you have a film resume. You've been in Cold Fusion. You know what the business is like.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Luke wins. So Luke, you win this. Luke happens to be in the office as well, just in a different office. So there we go.
Yeah. If you
send that Luke's way.
If you need another coaster next to the other one on your desk, probably.
Yeah.
Come on over.
You need that David Letterman crash sound effect too when you throw stuff.
Yeah, Luke, can you make that happen? Yeah, we need a soundboard. Stat. Just don't click on try new experience right here. It's gonna blow everything up. All right. Well, we're winding down. I want you to plug anything else you want to plug. We did link the Sun Prairie Strong, the trailer. Are you guys gonna update that website to have the other link? Okay.
Yeah.
Because this is an easier one to share. Otherwise, somewhere down in chat, you can find the actual film.
So I did just start a new podcast, and I'd like you guys to come on. It's called "Is That Guy Dead Yet?" And
it's the murder podcast.
Murder. And the whole idea is that I rattle off facts about a certain well-known person, and you try to guess who that person is, and is that guy dead? So
I love this idea because it would be, we're probably the worst at this. And then you'll be like, it's actually John. I was talking about John. Yeah.
John.
Happy to come on.
I didn't even know I was an extra in that movie.
And if you scan that QR code in the top left, I believe that'll take you to one of the links. Luke set that up for us because he's rad.
Thanks, Luke.
Do you have a URL for your podcast? We can throw a URL up too.
No, it's just on Spotify and Apple, wherever you find podcasts. It's called "Is That Guy Dead Yet?" And
oh, nice.
Yeah, I can. There's a Facebook group too that I make. Let me put the Facebook group in the chat.
Sounds very entertaining.
Yeah, and then you guys can play along at home.
I feel like I get. This is a side note, but I get stressed out by podcasts because of just the sheer quantity, the sheer volume of media to consume. I'm like, I mean, you could say the same thing, I guess, about TV or movies, but I feel
100%.
like I feel like I'm behind. I'm just like, everybody's like, have you listened to that podcast? I'm like, I can't even keep up with just regular life.
Well, good news, Shu. This is only 10 or 15 minutes long, this podcast.
Ah, perfect.
Exactly.
I could hammer out 3 episodes on my commute.
Yeah, exactly. Or just one. If you're just like, okay, this is fine, I've heard enough.
Until you have us on, and then it's like 10 minutes of you asking us questions, and 45 minutes of us just failing miserably at figuring out who it is. You're like, I'm not going to let you go until you figure it out. Just Google it. Just figure it out.
So they come out every Monday, and we have 2 episodes posted, and another one coming obviously next Monday. So,
nice.
Dude, super rad. We'll check that out.
Yeah, that's the only plugola I have for now.
Well, thanks for coming on. That's what we got. I already plugged our stuff. So if you're already listening, please make sure you subscribe to this podcast or find us on the web, or I don't know. I forget how to say all the things. It's too much going on. I just want to go see Mission Impossible. Do we got anything else, John?
I mean, you just got to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, write a letter to your grandma, and don't forget to postmark.
Love it. All right. That's what we got. Thanks for tuning in, people. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Steve. We can hang out here too after we not go live, or after we end the stream. So thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.